I saw a movie today. Here's my thoughts about it. First Man. This film was directed by Damien Chazelle. He has directed Whiplash and La La Land, so pretty good track record. This film stars Ryan Gosling and Claire Foy as Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong, respectively. This is based on a book written by James R. Hansen, First Man, The Story of Neil Armstrong. Steven Spielberg is an executive producer on this film. This film was another film almost directed by Clint Eastwood. This film was projected to get about 20 to 25 million in the box office, but the first weekend only got 16.5 million. With 97 reviews at the time I wrote this report, which has been a couple days, it had an 89% approval rating for critics, but I think the last time I checked for audience it was really low 60s. This had a budget of 59 million, which is almost half of what The Emperor's New Groove was. The beginning is exhilarating. A space movie needs to start with this kind of setup. Claire Foy can act her face off, and we kind of knew that, but she does excel really well. You might not like her character, but I still think most people can appreciate her acting. Ryan Gosling is Ryan Gosling, except more stoic this time. He's the main character, but if you were to put it up there, I'm not sure if he has the most lines or not. Maybe by default, but even then it's close, and that's saying something for your main character. It's a lot of close-ups on her face and stoic acting moments and stuff like that. He still acts really well, and probably both Claire Foy and Ryan Gosling would probably get Oscar noms, maybe, for this film, as well as maybe Film of the Year, maybe for Best Picture. I'm not sure, because it kind of just has, with the cast and crew and the director and all that jazz, it's one of those films that might just get in because that's just how Oscars go. A film comes out and you're just like, oh, this has an Oscar vibe. It's a weird sensation, but everyone just kind of knows. And I think that's why this box office will eventually go up just over time, with people wanting to go at it and Oscar buzz and stuff like that. But therein lies the problem. This is not a great film. If you were to boil it down, this film is a great film, but only if you boil it down to space scenes. If you kept all the space scenes and got rid of all the other scenes, this film's great. I love it. But there's a lot of other scenes that I don't want to say ruins the film, because there's still good non-space scenes, or scenes involving space, or like the NASA, or how things are done, how the thought process was made for Gemini and Apollo. There's scenes on ground that are cool too. But a lot of the other scenes, just like day-to-day life and dealings with the comeuppance of losing a family member in the film, and a bunch of other things, are not handled the correct way, I don't think. One of the big problems for me is the sound for this film. I'm not sure if the idea of the film was to have noises so loud that you couldn't hear the actors speak, but there were multiple times that I couldn't hear what Neil Armstrong, Ryan Gosling, was saying, because the sounds of the spacecraft was so loud I couldn't hear anything else. And there's some musical tones that just start shrieking almost, and it's a very unpleasant feeling. I know that's what they're going for, but you can still get that without making my ears bleed. There's a nice medium there, and it wasn't realized there. There's also the politicalness in this film. It's a very tiny bit, but it's sprinkled throughout the film, of talks about the USA versus the USSR, the main purpose of the space race. So I don't see why the American flag planting scene couldn't have been put into the film. The movie is already almost 2.5 hours, so why not add a 2-minute scene, if that, of just planting the American flag? Not as a political statement like, go America, but more of a mankind moment. You could have done something with it. Because I bet Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were just like, YOLO America, when they planted it. I bet they were very stoic and very sincere about it. We didn't have a world flag. I mean, I guess you could have used the UN at the time, but I still think they could have been in there and you could have not faced so much backlash. I mean, you can argue it's stupid backlash or not, but backlash is backlash, and that can hurt your film. But there is a scene with the flag on the moon, so if you thought the American flag on the moon was never going to be a thing, that's incorrect. It's in the film. It's just not the actual planting of it. There is a scene that really bugs me. I'm not sure if it's historically accurate or not, and I have yet to look it up, mainly because I don't want it ruined for me in a way. but at the same time, I really want to know if it was accurate or not. And I feel like most people, if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the film, it's closer to the very end, so just keep your eye out for it. I think you'll know it when you see it. A lot of old school filming happens, I believe. I'm not sure if they use a different millimeter when filming some scenes, but there's a huge difference between when scenes were shot in IMAX cameras and then non-IMAX cameras. And I'm not sure if that's for aesthetics, for us to feel, more into the old times, but it took me out of the film a lot. And I know that's just to each their own. You might really enjoy that feature, but I go to pay for a movie in 2018 with the expectations that I'm going to see a 2018 movie quality. Now, I get it. Movies like The Artist, where it's black and white, I get that. But that's a decision I want to know going in fully. The ads don't say, oh, this is shot in, a lower grade quality camera to get the aesthetic feel. It's not advertised like that. So I was thinking 2018 quality, but I didn't at all times get a 2018 type quality in the film. But then again, to each their own, that might have been the decision and the thing they're going for, just to make us feel more into the film. But it definitely took me out of it. But that's just me, so that's to your own discretion. Another problem for me was that Ryan was sometimes too stoic, too brooding, unfeeling, when I feel like the man that was the first to land on the moon would have some emotion. Yeah, he sheds a tear or two, but you wouldn't cheer or have a sigh of relief when you land, when you get out. I know everyone knows that, he steps out there and is one small step for man. You know the thing. Like, everyone knows the outcome of this film, and that line. But after that, he didn't have any other moments of oh my gosh, Buzz, this is the greatest thing of all time. Aldrin, get out here and share this moment with me. Nothing exciting like that. Nothing. It's just still stoic and brooding face. He does it well, but at the same time, the only time you don't see him stoic and brooding is when he's with his daughter at the beginning of the film. But that scene doesn't happen after a while in the film, so he just goes stoic for the most part of the film, and that kind of sucks for our main lead. The ending itself is super deflating. So the last 15-20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, can be exhilarating because there's a lot of space going on, and I'm not going to ruin the film because everyone knows that Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong land on the moon, and they walk on the moon. Everyone knows that, unless you believe it's all made up in a theater set somewhere in Area 51 or something like that. But everyone knows the ending. They land on there. They don't die. They come back fine and dandy. So we know that, and so the film can end there. And I think it'd be kind of cool if the ending was them blasting off from the space landing craft with the flag there and all their footprints there, and maybe one or two cool shots of the thing that I mentioned that might not have been accurate, and that could have been a cool ending. Or the ending could have been them landing on Earth and just, that sigh of relief, that sense of relief coming out of them, and just being like, we made it home safe and sound, and then getting out to a crowd of, EMS personnel, getting them ready for quarantine, or making sure, that it didn't blow up or anything like that on re-entry, or that they're fine. That would have been a fun ending. Scope away, do some text crawl, all fine and dandy. Or another thing in the film, and it's kind of a theme throughout, his family. So end with Armstrong embracing his family, his kids, his wife. But it doesn't do that. It ends on a very just bleh moment. You could argue that it's really cute, that moment. But for me, that moment even raises more questions of concerns. And I'm not going to get into spoiler-ish territory here. It's not really... It's complicated to spoil a movie that everyone knows about, but you might not know the things I'm going to allude to. So just the fact that the ending is what it is and not something more emotional, something more clarification-wise of feelings and attitudes and how the future is going to be resolved as a family type situation, is just very bland, very open-ended, and not in a good way. It's not an Inception open-ended way. All in all, though, as much as I complain, I still give this film 7 out of 10. There are moments when spacecraft, for anyone, might not even be Ryan Gosling in moments. Anyone that's in a spacecraft, there's a sense of claustrophobia. a sense of, oh my gosh, I'm in this tin can. Like, you could see the nuts and the bolts and the door closed, and it's just chink and it's closed. That sensation of like dread and just like, because I can't remember going into the film if certain Gemini products or certain Gemini ships or certain Apollo ships blew up, you know, lit on fire, someone died or not. And there's a lot of death in here, so I was unexpecting some. It was really emotional. Those scenes in the cockpits and the beginning scene and all the scenes that have the reflection of the Earth or in the moon, all of them are very beautiful cinematography. And I give major kudos to that. I give major kudos to Claire Foy. And one of the kids, a son of Neil Armstrong, has a moment where he gives me chills. A kid actor. I don't know his name, but the kid, oof, made me feel chills. And like, he was just so emotionally detached from the person he was talking to. And that tugged at my heartstrings more than anything else in the film. Just that attachment from this kid to the adult he was talking to. All in all, though, if you like Spacecraft, Ryan Gosling, Damien Chazelle, if you like any of those people, Claire Foy, then go check out this movie. You'll like it. It won't be too crowded. It'll be a nice, empty-ish theater, I assume. I only had like 10 in there, maybe that, if that. And a lot of other showings had 0 or just late showers. But it is a nice, enjoyable movie if you have any inclination of space travel, NASA, history, or any of the actors or directing or any of the staff in the film, then go check it out. Other than that, solid pass, maybe Redbox or Netflix. But if you don't like any of those things, it's not a spectacle to go see in IMAX, since IMAX cameras are not used the entire time like I mentioned. So, with that all being said, my name is Clark Addison. I review entertainment because I care, and I'll see you guys next time.